God bless everyone. As I had promised, I'm here to start my first day. But before then, I wanted to give a quick introduction to what the Bible is, so that way we can, be educated. Um, and I pray to God that you join me in this purpose of the new year. I know we always put purpose. I want to do this. I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to do that. But this is a purpose that I really hope and pray to the Lord that you um, do it with me. I'm gonna read it, so I want to make sure I can get all the points across. The Bible is a recompilation of texts that at the beginning were separated documents called books, originally written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek during the first period of time, then united to form what we know as the Old Testament and New Testament. The Old Testament tells us the history of the Hebrews with a messianic line because we can see how everything represents Christ. And the New Testament tells us about the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, his message, and the history of the first Christians. Because in the Bible is is our guide of life, of what we should do, and tells us through his word. So that's why when you have a question, regardless of anything, you can find it in the Bible. If you dig enough, you can see what Jesus said, what the disciples did, and you, God can speak to you too, through his word. The Bible is not written in a chronological order because it groups a diversity, of times and a variety of cast writers. The acts of a the acts of a book could have happened at the same time as the others, and that's why I'm reading it from Genesis to Revelation. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I have heard and seen the different way people do it, which they start from the Genesis, they go back from the Old Testament, and they go to the New Testament, and they go to the middle of the Bible, which is the book of the Psalms. And that's very confusing, and I do not want to do that. Like I mentioned, I want to make sure if you get lost and if you cannot hear me, or if you don't want to hear me, you don't have to. But at least you know where you can start and you can stop, so that way you don't get lost. The Old Testament is I wanted educate us that it's divided in itself. Um, the Old Testament is divided into 5 parts. The first part is called the Pentateuch: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The second part is the history books: Joshua, Judge, Ruth, First and Second of Samuel, First and Second of Kings, First and Second of Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. The book of poetry are Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Songs. The book of the prophet, which this one divides into two, and that's why I make fourth and five, is into major prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. And the minor prophets are Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. And between the Old Testament and the New Testament, there was a silence for 400 years that it was said in prophecy by God. and we will see it as we'll be reading, as we are going to be reading. Then it comes what we call the New Testament, and it gets divided. This book gets divided into three different parts. The first one is the history book, which with Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the books of the Acts of the Apostles. The 14 epistles of Paul, because he wrote it, are the Romans, 1st and 2nd of Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd of Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd of Timothy, Titus, and Philemon. And the general epistles are Hebrew, James, 1st and 2nd of Peter's, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of John, and Jude, and as well as Revelations. And that's how the Bible gets divided. And like I said, we're going to read it from the beginning to the end. Nothing in between. From Genesis all the way to Apocalypse, Revelations. I pray to God that you hear the word with me. Again, I said it again. Because I want the word to bring forth fruit. That even though at the beginning you're not going to think that you know it, or you're probably not going to memorize it, and but at time that you need it, I know that God is going to bring it forth for you. And you're going to be like, oh wow, I didn't even remember I knew that. Oh wow, but God is going to bring it. As life goes on, God is going to bring that word to give you strength. So I'm going to post this, and then like a few minutes later I'm going to post our first day. And be blessed with the word of God. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.